China used 1,000 excavators this time, and also sent 20,000 people. A city is being built in the heart of the largest desert. When the news broke out, the US mocked that China is really stupid and rich. So why is China building a city in the heart of the desert? And why is China building a city in the middle of the desert? How do the inhabitants live here? Let's take a closer look at this video. In China, deep in the Taklamakan Desert, the largest desert in China, there is a small city where 40,000 people live, but up to 90% of the population is transient. Only about 2,000 permanent residents. Only about 2,000 people live in the town of Taichung. Including Han Chinese, Hui, Uyghur, and other ethnic groups. Rolling sand dunes for hundreds of kilometers. It is deserted and uninhabited. Only this small town, in the heart of the desert. There are no rivers here. There are no poplar forests, and there is no arable land. Then why is there such a town in the middle of the desert? Why is there such a town in the middle of this vast desert? The Taklamakan Desert is the 10th largest desert in the world. It is also the second largest mobile desert in the world. The desert is more than 1,000 kilometers long from east to west. It is about 400 kilometers wide from north to south. The total area is up to 330,000 square kilometers. It means in and out of the desert in Uyghur. It is described as the Sea of Death. Among the world's major deserts, the Taklamakan Desert is the most mysterious, the most seductive one. In the vastness of this desert, the huge sand dunes rolling up and down, due to the constant influence of wind, the dunes often move with the wind. For the past 1,000 years, the shifting dunes, the entire desert extends about 100 kilometers to the south. In such a harsh and barren environment, China has built a small city in the middle of the desert. It is a miracle. This small town is called Tazhong Town. The meaning is easy to understand. It's the center of the Taklamakan Desert. The town that China has built is in the middle of the Taklamakan Desert. Currently there are two main north-south roads. One is the National Highway 217 along Hotan and Chuanqing. One is the National Highway 216 to Minfeng. The construction of these highways, reed fences and reed squares are mainly used. Reed fences and reed squares to prevent the highway from being swallowed by quicksand. And this town of 40,000 people is located at the interruption of National Highway 216. The town of Taichung was originally established for oil extraction. There are rich oil resources around Taichung. Many domestic, famous oil companies have come here to exploit the oil, and as more and more people came into this desert area, the town of Taichung is slowly taking shape. As you can see from the satellite map, Taichung is a small town. It's almost just a few houses. Although it is small, due to the large area of oil operations, the population of the area has reached more than 40,000 people. However, about 90% of this population is transient. Except for the marketplace near the highway, there are many places nearby. There are operational buildings in the area. The town is surrounded by yellow sand dunes. The green belts on both sides of the highway also follow the highway into the distance. On weekdays, the town can be a place for passing cars, tourists, and workers in the operation area. The town provides accommodation and daily necessities for the workers, although it is deep in the desert. But there is still an internet signal here. Although the town is small, but it plays a key role in the development of transportation in the entire desert. But it plays a key role as the only supply point in the desert. It will be the intersection of the entire desert road, an intersection point. It can also be said that Tazhong Town is an important base for China's transformation of the Taklamakan Desert. At this point, some people may ask, why is China spending a lot of money and resources in the middle of the harsh desert environment to build a town in the middle of the harsh desert? In fact, the town of Taichung was born out of oil. Although the surface of the Taklamakan Desert is barren, there is a lot of oil under the ground. Taichung Oil Field, and it is this big oil field where workers from all over the country come together, making it has gradually become a lively little oil town. Nowadays, Tarzhong has CNPC Darim Oilfield Branch, Sinopec, Northwest Oilfield Branch, and many other oil companies. Tazhong was also established to serve the oil fields. Almost all of the town's population is related to the oil fields. Every year, the oil people in Tazhong contribute oil to the motherland, or more than 1 million tons. There is a prominent oil field placard on the road in Taichung. There is only a desolate desert, no desolate life. It embodies the fearless dedication of oil workers. The entire length of the town is only 500 meters. It is mainly for the oil workers, freight drivers and tourists with food and accommodation, refueling and other services. In the middle is the only gas station in the Taklamakan Desert in China. It's called the Desert Gas Station, aptly named. Nowadays, restaurants and hotels are gradually appearing in the town of Taichung. Gas stations, car repair shops and many other stores. This is the desert hinterland. The desert is very mobile and sand control is a priority. If there was no protective forest barrier, the sand and wind would have swallowed up the road long ago. In fact, the early town of Taichung still faced the risk of being attacked by sand and wind. It was totally unsuitable for human life, but the construction of the desert road has slowly made the town resilient to sand and wind. The town of Taichung is the intersection of 4 desert roads, but along with the desert road, there are countless pine forests and grass squares for wind and sand control. They are like a protective staff. They protect the desert road from the sand and wind. It is also the basis for the survival of Taichung town in the desert. The largest desert in China, the only town in the Taklamakan Desert. How did the town overcome all the difficulties? In order to build this town, China sent 1,000 excavators and 20,000 workers, and while China was working on it, but the US laughed at them for being stupid and rich, unaware of China's long-term goal of building the town of Taichung, and while China was working on it, also encountered many problems. First of all, living in the desert, food and water are essential, but the desert soil is completely unsuitable for growing food. What about the food supply for Taichung? In fact, the food supply of Taichung, it depends on the desert road. The transportation in Taichung is still very convenient. Supplies can be purchased from outside on a regular basis, transported to the town. Don't worry too much about the food problem, but even if the food problem is not a concern, is there no problem with water for local residents? The Taklamakan Desert has very little precipitation. The average evaporation is over 3,000 mm, and people need water. There are many places that need water. It is not enough to rely on external transportation alone. It is said that part of the water used by the residents of Taichung. It is true that part of the water is supplied from the outside, but in Taichung town, there is a very valuable water well. It was found during the oil digging. This well is the water support for all the soldiers and civilians. Nowadays, in the protected forests on both sides of the desert road, not far away you will find, there are 2 or 3 shelters along the road. This is actually a water well, and these are the wells that serve the forest along the road, even though the desert is dry at night. But fortunately, there are many in-stream rivers that feed into the desert hinterland, creating an abundance of groundwater. On this 522 km desert road, there are 110 water well houses. There is a well every 3 to 4 km. The water is pumped out using drip irrigation techniques to interact with these protective forests, to block the desert from approaching the road. Another part of the water is used for the town's population. If you go to the town of Taichung, in the heart of the desert, would the network be unstable? Will we lose contact with the world? Actually, there is nothing to worry about. China's network infrastructure is already very advanced. Even in the desert town of Taichung, can also receive the network signal. Local residents can also use the internet to understand the outside world, not isolated from the world. If you want to visit the town of Taichung, there is no need to worry about the infrastructure of life. There are even 2 local KTVs to meet the entertainment needs of tourists and locals. But because of the town of Taichung, all the supplies need to rely on outside supplies, so the local prices are generally high. If you are going to visit the town, need to pay attention to the following point. After all, supplies in the desert are always so valuable. It is said that the Taklamakan Desert is the forbidden zone of life. However, the rich water resources under the desert is enough to disprove this 5-paragraph argument, not to mention the abundance of oil and other mineral resources. If being the longest desert cemetery in the world is a miracle, then the town of Taichung, built in the middle of the road, is the miracle city in the middle of the desert. Today, the desert highway is still being extended. The infrastructure of Taichung is also being improved. In recent years, with the development of desert tourism, more and more people know about Taichung town. this miracle town in the Taklamakan Desert, Tazhong Town, has become one of the most popular destinations for tourists. This has also made the town more and more vibrant. This is the end of this video. We will see you next time.